Hello everyone! Today we will be going through a short tutorial on how to create this PS1 style retro asset. We will be using a program called Shoebox and a tool inside of that called Texture Ripper, which will help us to extract parts of images to use for texture maps. So Shoebox is actually a program used for a lot of animation stuff, but they do have this Texture Ripper section that is really going to help out. It's not necessary, it just makes things easier. I will include a link to this in the description, but also to run Shoebox, you're going to need this Adobe Air plugin, which can be kind of hard to find, so I will also include that in the description so you can just download and install it, and we should be all good to get started. Alright, so let's get started by double-clicking Shoebox and opening that, and then you will want to take an image with your gathered reference images and just pull that into the Texture Ripper section, and this cool thing will open. So here you can start by left mouse clicking around the sections of the texture that you want to use, and you see it makes a nice little square, and once you've done that, it extracts that part of the image to the left. And the left will be kind of your texture map that you're going to use later. So you can continue extracting the images or parts of the images that you want, and Texture Ripper does a pretty good job fixing like perspective issues as well, and making everything look pretty good at least. So be sure to collect a lot of reference images so you have more to pull from, and then kind of just go through the image and get everything that you might want. When you're done extracting all the parts of the image that you want, you can move them around freely on the left side to make a little bit better use of all the space that you have, because what you see on the left side will pretty much be the final image texture that you will be using in Blender. After you are done, you can save out the texture and then open it with your image editing software of choice. For this one, I'm going to use Paint.net because it's free. So first off, you want to go in and resize the actual image. When you're happy with the size that you have, you can then go over here, over to color and quantize. This is where you can reduce the amount of colors inside of the image, so you get a little bit more of this old school effect, as well as the dithering levels for how much color banding you want into the image. When we're done with that, you can save it, and you should be good to go to take this into Blender. Once inside of Blender, you want to assign a new material to your mesh. So in the shading tab, you want to go in and remove the principled BSDF, and then exchange that for a diffuse BSDF instead, and connect that into the shader. The input from the diffuse should be an image texture, and the image should be the one that you got out of Texture Ripper. And you can change the interpolation to closest instead. Next, we're going on to UV editing, and this is pretty much where you'll do all the texturing as well, as you'll be taking separate faces and putting them pretty much on the textures that you want to use. So good to keep in mind is to keep the models fairly simple. You don't need that many polygons, you need to focus on the basic shapes. It's all really good to have your gathered references at this point as well, to keep an eye on how things should look. But as you can see here, you can just UV unwrap from view, and then you move your UV islands to fit the textures on the left hand side, and it's okay to stretch them out just a little bit to make everything look good. And here we'll just follow along with a sped up modeling process where I am going through the assets I want, looking at the references, and kind of making out the basic shapes, trying to UV unwrap it as I go to get a better feel of how things are looking. And again, trying to keep it simple. There's no need for super high poly assets in this case. With the basic TV done, it's time to move over to the table instead. This follows the same guidelines, just keeping the basic shapes there and stretching and pulling out the UV islands to fit the wood texture that we extracted earlier. A good thing to keep in mind as well is to try and keep the UV islands fairly similar size so you don't end up with parts of your model being way higher in pixel density and getting a lot more detail than the rest. So trying to keep that the same is a good thing to follow. And with the model almost done, you can see that it was a fairly straightforward process of modeling. You can just follow along references, same as the controller, basically modeling it just from above and making the final tweaks on it afterwards. And when UV unwrapping, trying to put the UV islands as good as possible to fit the images that you extracted earlier, and the models tend to take care of themselves at that point. And here you can see the final model with some extra lighting added. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.